Summertime means buying houses and mortgages, and with us now is Jonathan Esposito of Rise Mortgage in West Hartford. Jonathan, great to see you here.
Thank you for having me back.
So what is the current climate out there for people getting mortgages?
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Well, let's begin with good news, because I'm the forever optimist, right? So let's begin with that.
So good news is, when I was on last year, March of 2024, average interest rate was around 7.5. Now they've ticked down to like 6.75. So we're down 0.75%.
Going in the right direction.
Good. So it's going in the right direction. Bad news, I guess if you want to call it that, is everyone always asks, where are rates going? It is so hard to tell. Nobody knows, right? I think what drives rates are inflation, bond market activity, the economy, and there's been a lot going on there between tariffs, between the big beautiful bill, between potential wars, right? There's just a lot going on, so it's very tough to determine where rates are going to go. But there's been a lot of economic analysts who project rates will hopefully tick down towards the end of this year or into next year. I think a lot of people want to see them drop into the fives.
My mom is a retired realtor, and when I was a kid, she had this sign in her office that said, if you think the prices are high today, just wait until tomorrow, because they are going up, and people are in many cases buying homes over asking price. How is it affect their ability to get a mortgage, maybe if the house doesn't appraise?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and right now, nationally, we don't see this as much in the Northeast because it's very, very strong, especially Connecticut. Hartford County continues to be one of the hottest markets in the entire country. But 37% of houses are under appraising. So that causes, obviously, some people to restructure their plan. Their approach could include PMI coming into the picture. If now you don't have enough to cover the gap, you have to put less than 20% down. That could inch your monthly payment up. So yeah, it's definitely something that's prevalent.
So to put it into simple terms, let's say the house is listed for $600. They decide they're going to pay $700. They offer $700. It's accepted. They come to you for the mortgage, and you're like, well, it may not be worth more than $650. So what happens?
So
that's where the PMI comes in.
Exactly. So if people have,
which stands for again?
Private mortgage insurance.
Okay.
So whenever you put less than 20% down, private mortgage insurance gets added into your monthly payment, which could kick that up. So in that example, we're going in at 700, we're planning on putting 20% down. If it goes and it appraises at 650, the bank will recognize the lower of the purchase price or the appraised value. And so at 650, they may not have the funds to cover the gap to remain at 20% down payment. So then if it ticks down below that 20%, that's what PMI will kick in.
And there are people who just got spoiled a couple of years ago because the rates were 2-3%, and they're like, well, I'm waiting for that to happen. Exactly. Realistically, and I know that you don't have a crystal ball and it's hard to predict, but they appear to be going down. Yep. Do you think that we'll see that again, the 2 and 3% neighborhoods, 4%?
That might be a stretch. I think realistically, within the next year and a half, a lot of people are hoping that they dip down into the fives, right? Even if it's mid to high fives. I think that is the most realistic kind of short-term drop that we'll see. And then it really depends on where the economy goes from there and if they go much lower than that, right? Unfortunately, bad news is what typically drives rates to go down, right? And so that's why with all these unknowns, with the tariffs, with the war, with the big, beautiful bill, who knows what's gonna happen there. And if there's economic uncertainty, right, or something bad, AKA COVID, right? They dropped all the way down there because massive layoffs, there was, a lot of unknowns. And so it might take something like that for rates to come down again. So we'll see.
In terms of the length of the mortgage term, what is the average right now? What are people doing?
30-year fixed.
Okay. So
30-year fixed is definitely, what people.
And that has held rather steady in the recent years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What's your advice to young buyers who are maybe right out of college, want to buy their first property, their first home? Maybe they have a baby on the way, who knows, and but they think the rates are too high. What do you tell them?
Have the conversation, right? The alternative is renting, which is paying 100% interest, right?
That's
and
true.
So if you go back, and even if you bought a house 2-3 years ago where rates were elevated, especially, as I mentioned before, especially in Connecticut, we've seen home values appreciate at unbelievable numbers. Right? And so, okay, yes, you may be paying a little bit more than you want in terms of mortgage interest, but you might have gained $100,000 of equity over 2 or 3 years, which is pretty tough to do. you know, if you're through other investments.
And for young buyers,
Yeah.
what's the minimum they can put down if they've got good credit?
So we do, it depends on your income, right? But we do have some programs that allow just 1% down, but